Hi, we're back, and I'd like to offer some thoughts today about an important New Testament word family, and this is the word family having to do with authority. So here are the words. Existen means it is free, it is lawful. This is always going to be followed by an infinitive. It is lawful to. Noun, he exousia, the authority, and the verb exousiazo, I exercise authority. And then underneath it, you'll see a compound form with kata on the front of exousiazo. I exercise authority. It's found only once in Mark 10. Now, let's talk about the word existen. It is free, it is lawful. Generally, this refers to a higher norm, court, Torah as instruction, and then certain prohibitions that follow. So for the disciples who are picking grain on the Sabbath, the Pharisees are criticizing Jesus for what his disciples are doing. Behold, why are they doing something on the Sabbath which it is not lawful to do? That is, it violates Torah. And here we see the Greek here, uk existen. It is not lawful. In Luke 14:3, before Jesus heals a man with dropsy or edema, the Pharisee asks Jesus, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not? The Greek there, existen to sabbato therapeusi eu. Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not? Here it refers to the higher norm. Torah and the specific Sabbath issue. God's authority is also expressed in nature, particularly prominent in the book of Revelation with angels, horses, scorpions, plagues. And I also need to say that the devil possesses authority, but it's with a divine overruling. It's limited. For example, in the temptation narrative, the tempter says to Jesus, I will give you all their authority. That is, all the kingdoms of the earth and splendor, for it is given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to. The Antichrist also possesses a limited authority. He exousia means the authority to exercise power. Now, you'll notice here that it's linked up with several nouns. Kratos, might. Ischus, strength. Or dunamis, power. The creative authority of God or his Son to exercise his will. In Luke 12, Jesus is speaking there, fear him who, after killing the body, has the authority to throw you into Gehenna. So here we have the participle ekanta exousian embalein, authority to cast you into Gehenna. Jesus says to his disciples, it doesn't belong to you to know the times or seasons which the Father has set by his own authority. And here the Greek is ente idia exousia. Here the disciples are asking about if this is the time that the kingdom is going to be restored to Israel. We also find the authority of Jesus to act, his invested authority. Jesus speaks about his divine freedom in concert with God to lay down his life for his sheep. And so Jesus says, no one takes my life away from me. Oudes ire autein ap emu. And then he says, I have the authority to lay it down, and I have the authority to take it up again. So let's pronounce this together. Exousian echo thenai autein kai exousian echo palin labain autein. The Great Commission is prefaced by Jesus' statement, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. So we have pasa, exousia, and urano kai epiges, all authority in heaven and upon earth. Now, in the paragraph having to do with Jesus' healing of the paralytic, I want to make just a couple comments. In Mark 2:10, Jesus makes this purpose statement, in order that you might know that the Son of Man has authority to forgive sins. And then in the same paragraph, we have the repetition of the forgiveness of sins 4 times. Look at that. My son, your sins are forgiven. Who can forgive sins but God? Which is easier to say to the paralytic, your sins are forgiven? Verse 10, the Son of Man has authority to forgive sins. Thus, in the entire paragraph, Jesus uses authority to unite both his right as well as his power to exercise his right. So the healing of the paralytic is used to substantiate his authority to forgive sins as his right. So the authority to forgive sins is front and center in this paragraph, and the healing itself substantiates that right. Some other authority texts relating to Jesus. Mark 11:28. By what right does he cleanse the temple? Tein exousian, tautein. Matthew 9. The crowds are amazed and glorify God who gave such authority to men. And in Luke 4:36, with authority and power he commands the unclean spirits, and they come out. So the Greek here, en exousia kai duname, with authority and power. Epitase, he commands, tois akathar tois pneumasin kai exerkantai. He commands the unclean spirits, and they come out. The authority can also be accorded to the community, and this can be understood as privilege. In John 1:12, to those who received him, he gave the privilege of becoming children of God. I like that translation better than the authority of becoming children of God. It's set within the context of God's grace and the privilege that has been accorded to people by virtue of Jesus. Now, in the formal appointment of the 12, Jesus calls them with a threefold purpose. First of all, to be with him. Second, to be sent out to preach. And finally, to have authority to cast out demons. And let's pronounce the Greek here together. Kai echein exousian ekbalein ta daimonia. And to have authority to cast out demons. So we have a progression. First of all, to be with Jesus, that's first. Second, then, as an outgrowth of relationship with Jesus, to be sent out to preach. And third, in their mission, to have authority to cast out demons. And finally, authority with the sense of freedom. That's a nuance. The relative freedom of the Corinthians is part of Paul's beef with them. He says all things are lawful, And here's the word existent. All things are lawful for me, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is lawful for me, but I will not be mastered by anything that has come under their authority. For food offered to idols, Paul says this, but see to it that your freedom, and here's the word exousia humon, your authority, meaning your freedom, doesn't become a stumbling block to the weak. Now, relative to various people that Paul calls strong and weak, the weak are those that have a hyperactive conscience. Paul theologically aligns himself with the stronger ones in a more liberal posture. It doesn't matter to him. But Paul is concerned here at Corinth with the people that are stronger, that are using their freedom in a way that violates the conscience of the weak, meaning that they might be drawn into doing the same thing but having their conscience violated. And that's Paul's concern with them. So thanks.